One of the most important engagement strategies that I really think that I use is using scaffolding. Scaffolding is an important engagement strategy to me because working in a school such as this one where you can have such a huge skill gap with students, however the students themselves what they're showing isn't really that skill gap. Behind that skill gap, there is a learner who will be able to learn. However, for whatever reasons, they may have disengaged with school or with the system and the discourse that school has. So it's about scaffolding that learning experience for the students to be able to come back into that discourse of schooling so that they have the right language, that they're explicitly led towards the information, the knowledge and the skills that they would need to be able to participate in those learning experiences. Once they are able to achieve that and show that, the most important part of scaffolding then is to let go and to hand back control to the students so that students are able to then take what they've learned and then really show you that mastery of that concept and be able to do that by themselves. And that buzz that they get when they're able to do those things themselves really builds up their self-efficacy as a learner, and then you slowly start to see that skill gap close in. I help students to believe that they can succeed by firstly, as a teacher, believing that they can succeed. I think that it's really important that as a teacher you walk into that classroom knowing that if you're teaching in a low socioeconomic school, or if you're teaching a student from an Aboriginal background or from a non-English speaking background, that all of those type of aspects can't hold them back, that those type of things and challenges will not stop students from learning, and that if you've got that expectation as the teacher that you can reach all of these students and that every student has that potential, then you're going to start to think and break down those barriers to start to develop all of these really positive learning experiences, really purposeful learning experiences that are explicit, that target the skills and strategies that they will need to really be able to help them to become those better learners that they need to be. I can help my students to learn also by giving them that chance to build up their self-efficacy. And I guess that's a little bit also about making sure that students have high expectations of themselves. We often say that teachers need to have high expectations of students, but I think the harder task is to make sure students have high expectations of themselves as a classroom teacher. And if you're building up that self-efficacy within students, well then that's where you start to see them have these high expectations of themselves as learners. You need to ask them, it goes beyond the learning experience as well, you need to also ask them, well, what are your aspirations? To give them goals. Where do you want your life to head? How do we get you there? What are the skills that you're going to need? If you can have these conversations with students about aspirations as well, that's another way that you'll commit them to learning, because they see beyond the content that you're actually delivering to them, and they actually see the value that lies within schooling and within education, and they start to see you not only as a classroom teacher but as someone who really honestly does care about them and does want the best for them. So it's also about, I guess, having that respect for students and students being able to show you the respect as a reciprocal type of relationship there.